Cheryl!
What do you get when you take Resident Evil 4 and make the controls super good? That's right, Martian Gothic!
There's more to that than meets the visor.
Alright, I'm done fucking around. No more of that boring ass game. Can't you read? Dedspace is a fun game that may or may not meet your definition of a survival horror game, but regardless, it's a game that's fun as hell to play.
Dedspace was developed by Visceral Games and published by everyone's favorite, EA. Now, while it didn't bring much new to the table, the gameplay is still super addictive and fun to play, controlling much like other third-person over-the-shoulder shooters, but with more intimidating enemies.
Dedspace isn't subtle. Dedspace isn't tame. Dedspace is an over-the-top, in-your-face, fucking gore fest. And that is what I love about it. It doesn't try to be some subtle wannabe like Silent Hill Origins or Silent Hill Homecoming or Silent Hill Shattered Memories or Silent Hill Book of Lost Memories or Silent Hill Down.
Point is, this game doesn't forget what it is. First and foremost, it's an action game with horror elements. So being an action game, it doesn't try to add weird control aspects. If you've played Gears, Uncharted, Killswitch, then you'll find an extremely familiar setup that works. The only time the controls suck cock is in the horrendous PC port. Jeez, thanks guys, I'm so glad you implemented a huge fucking dead zone on the joystick! Look at this! Over 50% of the stick is a dead zone! It totally doesn't affect the gameplay at all! Thanks! I love to cap 30 frames a second! Oh yeah, avoid the PC version unless you enjoy doing a bunch of annoying things to fix a piece of shit. While it is an action game, it still has a great atmosphere with some pretty intense moments. Now, I don't really include how scary a game is when I consider it good or not, but it is something to consider. If a horror game doesn't scare me, I don't immediately think less of it, but if it's a pitiful attempt, it does weigh the game down. The horror element does die down towards the end when it begins to focus more on escaping the Ishimura. The jump scares also become pretty predictable after this extremely obvious vent hole that I've seen 3,000 other Necromorphs come from keeps spawning them. Despite these problems, Dedspace still has some pretty unsettling moments. Now, while not the scariest game ever made, it's still a really enjoyable shooter. First thing I enjoy is the melee-centric enemy focus. Nothing bores me quicker than being stuck behind cover 80% of the time during almost every encounter. There's no lame cover system, you're just out in the open as vulnerable as can be. There are a lot of moments where my adrenaline is pumping. That moment when you're being ambushed or locked in a room, for example. There are some really well done tense moments. As for the atmosphere, it's fucking heavy. But I think it's almost a given with a gigantic fucking spaceship. Nothing is worse than exploring a desolate, abandoned spaceship. Space is a fantastic setting for horror, but it has a pothole that most games that base their location on tend to fall in. Every time I play a game where I'm lost in space, everything that could possibly go wrong, goes wrong. Seriously.
Isaac, all we need to do now is restart the ship. Oh, fuck. After restarting the ship, the air conditioning isn't as cold as I'd like. My balls are a little sweaty. Go fix it. Oh, no! After fixing the AC, the ship's thrusters aren't working. Quick, go! Fuck! Now the air supply is full of poison! Everything is going wrong! Damn it! I spilled my drink!
Even Alien Isolation, a game I thoroughly enjoyed, still had the same problem. This might not bother some, but I find it really immersion breaking and becomes boring really quick. After everything goes wrong, you just start instantly thinking, hey, I'm sure something will go wrong. Also, having a silent protagonist is always a risky move. Sure, you can point to great games with silent main characters, but I'm not saying it's bad. I usually just don't like when the NPCs say shit and the guy just stands there blank-faced expressionless. Isaac, bud, you gotta learn to stand up for yourself. Next time one of these jive turkeys asks you to do everything, simply follow these steps. Take both hands in a flat position and you start to slam them down on your pelvis. Thrusting is encouraged, but not required.
Those are probably the worst things I can find about the game. Everything else is pretty damn good.
The necromorphs are fucking fantastic. I don't care these aren't subtle monster designs a la Silent Hill. These motherfuckers are still scary. The monster design in this game is radical as fuck. This is the kind of shit you find on a Cannibal Corpse cover art. Look at this. This is so metal. It's metal. The game does suffer from too few enemy types where it begins to not be as cool when, you know, I fucking blow their legs and arms off quicker than that scene in RoboCop. They even resort to just making the stronger enemies darker. Boring! The one that walks on its arms is pretty cool. Oddly enough, my favorite one is the little parasitic octopus thing. Drawing influence from the facehugger, I think it's actually better than it. That thing is really terrifying, and the death scene that accompanies it is fucking great. Kudos with this one. The enemies are fantastic and will be cemented in the Hall of the Greats. Speaking of death scenes, this game literally had it as a bullet point on the back of the box. Pix, motherfucker, it happened. God, I remember watching the compilation of death scenes for this game. Yes, I am that sick fuck, and just being in awe from it. This is something I love about the game. Tying in with its in-your-face dude, this just takes it to a whole new level. Now, one of the developers said, and I can't find the quote anywhere, so this is from memory, that they like the idea, if you're gonna die, you might as well make it fun as hell. That is wrong! This is not fun, this is scary! I adamantly believe violent death scenes add to the scare factor. Dude, fighting the brute is so tense since I'm like, I don't want to get fucking destroyed! But then again, I totally do. The use of a cinematic death scene is awesome. That was the best part of that astoundingly mediocre AVP game. A few things that bother me, I'm not saying it's bad, is Isaac is just too fragile. He just falls apart if he thinks too hard. Bones made of glass and skin made of paper. Also, the blood is lacking, as in there isn't enough. Dude just got his legs, an arm, and his head chopped off. There should be geysers of blood, Tarantino style no less. What I'm trying to say is, it's not over the top enough for my liking. Yes, I'm aware I sound like a sick serial killer, and that is because I am one. I'm coming for you.
Sick murderous tendencies aside, let's talk about the story. Now, the story is pretty interesting, but feels so familiar.
As in familiar, it is heavily reminiscent of Doom 3, a comparison that no one seems to have noticed. Some foreign space object summons hellish creatures. It has a lot of differences, but the gist is, the USG Ishimura, which I want to say, the ship name and design is fucking stellar. A planet-cracking ship that lands on the planet in the depths of the galaxy. On the planet, a weird rock monolith is found and brought aboard the ship. This marker is sanctified by some crazy religious group. And after, it starts turning people into scary monsters. This is the main story, but the subplot is far more interesting in the long run. Isaac suffers from mental instability, to put it lightly. Throughout the game, Isaac has psychotic episodes revolving around his girlfriend Nicole, suffering from hallucinations while trying to escape the ship. That's the most of it. The story is fine, it's nothing phenomenal, but it's sufficient. Its main annoyance relates back to the never-ending problems where it becomes annoyingly repetitive. Backtrack, ship has another problem, solve it, kill some things, hallucination, rinse, repeat. The game gets dull after a few hours for me. I have to play it in segments. After beating the game, you unlock a new costume and new game plus. Thanks to the upgrade system, it does have a few reasons to go back and replay. Speaking of the upgrade system, I think it's handled pretty well, but it's full of a bunch of useless shit. Why the fuck would I upgrade the air on the suit? You don't need it. Also, there are a good amount of unique weapons, but again, most of them are pretty useless. The plasma cutter and line gun all day, baby. Fuck that stupid saw gun thing. I love the idea of launching spinning saw blades at people, but I used it once and never again. Same with all of his weapons besides the aforementioned sick plasma cutter and line gun.
The ports are all similar enough to not really cover any of them in great detail. My only advice is avoid the fucking PC version like the plague, unless you like doing a bunch of annoying shit to make it function, like a game. It was a good idea for a new IP at the time that has some creepy moments, but unfortunately it's that the corporate train ran on it. So overall, I thoroughly enjoyed Dedspace, and if you haven't managed to play it, however that happens, go do it. It's dirt cheap. You can find it for like $2. So, until next time, we're gonna get to a game I didn't even know was a thing till like a couple days ago. Spoilers.